Hello, I'm Rachel Patton, Executive Director of Preserve Arkansas. Preserve Arkansas is the statewide nonprofit advocate for historic preservation. Welcome to the first Women in Preservation Talk of 2021. This series features women from a variety of backgrounds to explore historic preservation in Arkansas, its importance and relevance in today's world, and ways that we can better recruit women and people of color to our field. This project is supported in part by a grant from the Arkansas Humanities Council, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the United States Congress, as well as DMX Architecture in Fayetteville. Thank you for your support. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Mandy Curtwright is the Executive Director of Main Street Batesville and co-owner of the historic Melba Theater. Prior to 2018, when she became the full-time director, Mandy served on the board of Main Street Batesville for 5 years during a major revitalization effort. Mandy specializes in helping small businesses thrive within the historic district. She also promotes Main Street Batesville as a place for tourists to visit. Mandy and her husband Adam and their partners Joe and Janelle Shell purchased the Melba Theater in 2014 and reopened it in 2016 after an extensive renovation. Mandy graduated from college in Batesville. She is inspired daily by her husband and their 3 children, ages 8, 11, and 13. In her free time, Mandy enjoys playing piano and planning trips to Walt Disney World. Please welcome Mandy Curtwright. Mandy, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
All right, thanks, Rachel. Can everybody hear me okay? Good.
Good.
Got the thumbs up, good. All right, so let me share my screen. Right. Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank all of you guys for joining on this call on this warm and glorious day. I'm just kidding. This is more like what it looks like in Batesville, at least, and I'm sure it probably looks like that where you are as well. And kids are anxious about the possibility of snow and ice and sledding and missing school and all that fun stuff. But anyways, thank you, Rachel, for inviting me to share a little bit about myself and what I do for a living and what I get to do as a passion. As she said, I am the director of Main Street Batesville. I've been in this position for about 2.5 years before serving, but before that, I served on the board of directors. And I was lucky enough to be on the board during the revitalization time for Main Street period. And if serving on the board during that time has taught me anything, it's to persevere, because the end game on a development project is usually worth the strife and negativity if you have the right leadership in place. Also the co-owner of the historic Melba Theater in Batesville, and it's located on Main Street Batesville. And my ownership of the theater came about because of my love for downtown. My husband, Adam, he said that he was going to log on. I didn't look through the attendees, but I'm going to hold him accountable and say that he logged on. But anyways, he's a loan officer for Centennial Bank. And we have 3 wonderful, perfectly behaved children, Eli, Easton, and Ellie. The E was just kind of, I guess, a coincidence thing. Both of our parents, Adam and I, they both told us, you're going to regret having kids that all have E names. At the time, I was like, no, it's cute. We're doing it. But now, when you get aggravated, you call everybody the other name. So anyways, I get that part of it now. So anyways, just to kind of give you a little bit of backside on our kids, Ellie, she's the youngest. She's the girl. She's the runt, I guess you could say it. I have a couple of funny pictures of her. I'm going to show you this first. So I said that we're Disney fanatics. We go to Disney about once a year. And that's my husband and I on the very back. He's pretty comical, I guess you could say. But anyways, yes, we're the adults that go to Disney occasionally without our kids. So anyways, and I do enjoy playing the piano. I play downtown here and there, play at various events, but I mainly enjoy playing in the comfort of my home and at church because it soothes me and I just really enjoy it. So here's the funny picture of Ellie that I was telling you guys about, the runt of our family. So on the left, she's actually at the Melba, and she was, I guess, kind of getting mouthy with one of the teenage workers that gives her a hard time. And she was trying to open the door, and accidentally that little finger went up just a little bit, no intention there. But then on the right, at a local restaurant, she actually had her finger shut in the door. And it was pretty terrifying at the time, but now it's made for a really funny picture because you can see the finger that was injured. So anyways, and then here we are at Disney, and then there's, I guess, a more calm picture of our family. So anyways, moving along. So a little bit about the history of Main Street Batesville. We became an organization in 1984, and we were one of the first programs under Main Street Arkansas. We were a thriving Main Street until the early 2000s, which I think that's probably when most Main Streets and small businesses saw a decline in revenue just because of the economy. But in 2012, we experienced a director turnover, and we had an incredibly high vacancy rate. Our vacancy rate was actually 70%. Diane Tebbett, she's a downtown homeowner. She served on our board in the past. I know she's been involved with various things, preservation within the state. But anyways, Diane Tebbett, she said that she could have laid down in the middle of the street with no fear of getting ran over. So that's how slow our Main Street was. And if you're involved with an accredited Main Street program, there's certain things that you have to check off of your list to say, yes, we're doing all of these things. And Main Street Arkansas is an incredible asset. And because of them, I guess we were able to get our act in order, if we can call it that. They kind of gave us an ultimatum and said, you guys have got to get your things in order or you're at risk of losing your accreditation. So there were several things that we did. We had a gentleman by the name of Robert Carius. He actually celebrated, I think, his 93rd birthday. He's a retired Rear Admiral, and he's just as perky as he was probably 50 years ago. But anyways, during that time, he really stepped up to the plate and led our board, and he put new leadership into place. And because of him, our Main Street is where it's at now. A little bit, this is our historic district right here. It all falls within the orange lines. And this is our timeline. So in 2013 was when we brought in the consultants. At the time, our Main Street was a 2-laned one-way street, and the consultant said, you guys are crazy. You don't have the traffic flow to justify having 2 lanes. And so we took their advice and we put in a whole new streetscape. So primarily our Main Street now, we have I think we increased parking by 30%. We did away with a lot of the parallel parking, at least, except for on one block, we do still have parallel parking. But the biggest piece of it was that we installed flower beds, and we have volunteers that keep those fresh. And I was actually talking with our design committee chair today, and she's got all these ideas about moving around plants. And anyway, she's wonderful to have on our team. But installing flower beds didn't come with its we'll say a good source of negativity among the community, which if you've been involved in projects like this, you guys know there's plenty of people that have negative things to say, but there's also plenty of positive people. So anyway, streetscape was put into place. And what's important to note about our streetscape is that it was 100% funded by either private donations or businesses sponsored. So we had a couple of different banks that actually sponsored an entire block. So there were no tax dollars. So we're really proud of that. But following this timeline, 2013 was when everything started. And basically within 5 years, we turned everything around. So we have so much to be proud of. And our vacancy rate right now is actually 10%. And we have a list of, I guess you could say, vacant properties that we have owners who are now seeing the positive changes. They're saying, well, maybe we should try to sell our building. So we see that as a positive thing, as opposed to a building that was just vacant or used for storage is now being looked as a possibility for retail or a restaurant. And so we have some new things that are kind of on the lines. Side note, if you hear the little pitter patter, I have a little dog. I told Rachel earlier, I say little, he's a little French bulldog. Said I had to choose between him being in his kennel and barking or me hearing his footsteps every once in a while. So anyways, he's right here. He's listening with all of you guys. Okay, so here's our Main Street as it is now, as you can see, with the new streetscape, with the flower beds, the pull-in parking. And something that I also want to note, we used a consultant by the name of Dan Burden. People have told me that he actually has written textbooks about walkability and such. So we're really honored that we were able to bring him in. But so whenever we took the streetscape, when the streetscape was put into place and the 2-lane went down to 1-way, that it forced traffic to slow down, which is what the ultimate goal was. And it kind of pushed people to enjoy the sidewalks. We have the green spaces now. So as you can see, just in this picture, it's just absolutely wonderful. We have the newly restored Coca-Cola mural. We are fortunate to have Lyon College here in town, and they have an art professor by the name of Dustin Bork, and he leads a mural class. And so if you're a property owner in your downtown or just anywhere, I can give you information to reach out to Lyon College, because for the most part, they ask for you to cover their supplies, but they're very, very professional. It's an affordable way to get a really nice piece of art installed in your downtown. But they restored that Coca-Cola mural, and I didn't Photoshop any of that. It almost looks like I took a picture and just laid it on top of that building, but I didn't. They just did that good of a job. So we're pretty proud of that. Also, what I wanted to add on about our streetscape, one of the things that Bob Curious, who I was talking about earlier, one of the things he said that he did on purpose was we kind of, I guess, flagged off one block so that people could see this is what the streetscape will look like. So come and enjoy it, park your car and see. And it wasn't pull-in parking, it was back-in parking. I laugh because you can probably picture that in your mind and the backlash that was received. But the idea behind it was Main Street was never going to actually have back-in parking. Dan just said that kind of recommend it to the public and let them give their feedback that they hate it. And then they'll see, oh, they listened to what I had to say and they changed it. So anyways, that's probably some more backstory on that between Dan and Bob. I always think that's kind of funny to share. Okay, a few little quick projects I want to hit on before I go into the Melba side of things. Main Street Batesville was fortunate enough to receive several awards at the Main Street Arkansas Awards in the beginning of 2020. And these are a few of I'm not going to hit on all of the awards, but just the construction projects I do want to highlight. Maxfield Park, you can see on this slide what it looked like before. I mean, it was a completely unused piece of property. It sat behind Main Street. It was trashed, and it was it was serving nobody any good. You couldn't park there. So anyways, the city and the county came together and they helped clear it out a little bit. And we had a gentleman by the name of Danny Dozier. He wasn't paid at all. He just loved Main Street, lives downtown, served on the board, and he's a local musician. That's how everybody around town has gotten to know him. But his next door neighbor was Ann Straw, and she was part of the Maxfield family. And she was talking to him one day, I guess when she was ill, and she said, one of the things that I wish is that, and I'm sorry, back up a little bit. Her family is the one that owned this piece of property. So anyways, when she was visiting with Danny, she said, one of the things that I really wish is that somebody would take that property and do something with it, turn it into a park or something. So it's almost like her dying wish. And Danny, being the genuine, and he's so kind, the man that he is, he took on this project, and it took him 4 years. 4 years. But he, the craftsmanship of this park, it has the native stonework, even some of the playground equipment that you see over to the right. It's all his creation. The playground equipment specifically was kind of resurrected from another park in Batesville, from Riverside Park. They were updating some of their equipment, and they were just going to scrap the old stuff. And so Danny said, no, I think I have a use for it. So anyways, he restored it, installed it there. It's got the stage, the green space, the overlooking deck, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Oh, that's a cute kid right there. Her name is Ellie. She makes a really good model here and there whenever mom needs her. Another program I want to hit on, because I don't know if other Main Street organizations have this benefit or not, but we did win an award for best public-private partnership. And what this is Citizens Bank, they're headquartered in Batesville, but they're spread throughout the state. They partnered with us during, I think, 2013, whenever the decline on our Main Street was happening. And they said, if anybody comes to us wanting a loan, we will do very low interest loans. I'm talking like 1%. And so they did that. And that was one thing that was a catalyst in getting our entire Main Street back on board. I know the Melba Theater utilized this, and I won't say it publicly, but I know that there were at least 4 or 5 big projects that were able to happen specifically because of this program. Another big project, First Community Bank. To the left, you can see what the building was before and now what it is after. So they essentially took 2 storefronts, totally redid it, and it's absolutely wonderful. They even tried to mimic some of the lanterns or the street lamps that were back in the day, reinstalled those. And I don't know if you can see it in the picture to the right. If you look really closely, you can kind of tell, but they even have, I don't know what the correct term is, but it's like horse hitching post. So, back in the day, you might hitch your horse to a post and then be on your way. So anyway, obviously nobody's used them except for, I think, maybe one photo op, but it's still kind of cool that you can look and say, oh, they're kind of bringing back a little bit of history. Also important to note, in that picture on the right, inside that flower bed, you can see the stone structure. Well, there's a bronze plaque in the middle of that acknowledges everybody that financially contributed to installing the streetscape. Okay, up next, Independence County Library. We won for Best Adaptive Infill Project. Again, you can see the before and the after. Our library has actually, I think last year, was listed as one of the top 10 in the state. And it is just absolutely incredible. And on a normal year, it's a constant source of foot traffic. Not only people going there, but they have internet. They used to have programs to where if you had kids, they could get off the bus there, and then they could hang out and play PlayStation and video games, and then you could come pick them up. But they would also do, like adulting classes. They would have cooking classes. So anyways, having the library downtown in their newly restored space is a huge asset to us. The Royal on Main Best Adaptive Infill Project. the before pictures of this, it blows my mind because I walked through this building whenever they were right in the middle of the restoration of this. And it is incredible the vision that they had. They also worked with Main Street, Arkansas, as far as the layout. I'm not going to go to the next picture yet, or the next slide yet, because it's going to blow your minds. But anyways, this project, in dollar amounts, I know that it was over $1 million project, but to me, the Royal on Me, it's an upscale boutique. They have 4 or 5 rooms upstairs, and then they have 2 rooms downstairs. And then in the front of their first floor, they lease it out for retail space, and there's a ladies' boutique that occupies that area. But anyways, to me, this is probably, it's the nicest lodging in the state. I haven't stayed everywhere, but I would put it up to anything that you guys have stayed in within Arkansas. It's absolutely wonderful. So here's after. It completely blows my mind. They spared no expense, but their rooms in this hotel, they give nods to the historic side of this building. Like they have a Maxfield room. They have Main Street Suite, which actually looks over Main Street. They have the original hardwood floors that they restored. They have murals that are going up when you're going up the steps. There's murals painted on the sides that mimic the buildings that used to be back in the beginning of Main Street. It's absolutely incredible. And they have just little tidbits. They have bidets in all of the bathrooms, heated tile floor, double-sided fireplace. It's wonderful. Okay, so anyways, getting into the Melba side of things, let's go through my notes here. So the Melba Theater has been around since the late 1930s. It was once located in Upper Main Street, but in 1940, it moved to 115 West Main, where it's remained for the last 81 years. This striking Art Deco facade helped the theater stand out amongst the others. It's probably one of the most visually interesting things that you'll see when you travel down Main Street. And the Melba Theater was actually one of the first CinemaScope theaters in the state. And CinemaScope is, I guess, is the best way to explain it is more so just the size of the screen, the wider picture. So that's CinemaScope. But when the theater opened, there was another theater on Main Street called the Landers Theater. I think I have a picture of it. Yeah. And at the Landers, they would show the more adult films. No one has actually specifically described that. They've just told me that it was adult films. Anyways, and then the Melba was the more family-friendly features. Little history tidbit. At the Landers, they even had what was and is still referred to as the Naked Ladies. They were oil lamps that were affixed to the walls and were in the shape of just that, naked ladies. There's still a few around town. I'm sure tucked in people's, private attics or whatnot. But our local museum, the Old Independence Regional Museum, they have one that they've used for displays. Getting ahead of myself. But the Melba did host owl shows, and these were movies that had a start time around midnight, and they were geared towards a more mature audience. A few different movies hosted their premieres at the Melba, including The Adventures of My Dog Sheppy, and this was a film that was produced in Mountain View. Another story that we've heard is that Roy Rogers actually rode his horse named Trigger down the aisle at the Melba. So a lot of really neat stuff. And Joe Bonamassa, he also performed at the Melba when he was just getting started. And my husband and I, we were fortunate enough to go to New York for the New Year's Eve ball drop. That's a whole different story for another time. But we went for the ball drop several years ago, and we saw a billboard right off the interstate that featured Joe and his upcoming performance at Carnegie Hall. So pretty neat stuff. And this picture is actually just from one of our local publications, Arkansas Weekly. But it's just kind of neat when somebody gets their start in your venue and then they go and sell out Carnegie Hall. So anyways, Batesville is nestled within the Ozarks. So when you're coming down Main Street, you start at the top of the hill. And as you're moving downward, you can see the M and then the E and then the L, and then eventually all of the letters of the Melba. And so it's one of those marquees that just kind of stands out. Between our marquee and the Landers Theater marquee, there's all sorts of signage and neon display. And also the Landers Theater that I was talking about earlier, they no longer operate as a movie theater. That building had become dilapidated. And actually at one point, I believe they said a tree was growing up the center of it. And so it operates now as a church, as Fellowship Bible Church. They completely renovated it, and it looks absolutely wonderful. But they did restore the neon through community support, and they have a beautiful marquee as well. A few little quick bits about the Melba. It is a 415-seat single-screen movie theater. It does have a balcony that's currently closed and will hopefully be restored in the upcoming years. The Melba operated as a second-run theater because there's another theater in town that operates as a first run, and that's how we do it now as well. And there's perks to that, which I'll explain a little bit later as far as being a second-run theater. Moving on. Oh, and about I alluded to the balcony a little bit. So when you look at our theater straight on, there's a poster case to the left, and that poster case was put in place of a door that used to be there. And that door was a separate entrance that would lead you straight to the balcony. And the separate door, unfortunately, was there because that is where they would ask African Americans to sit. So, I don't know, sad times. But anyways, just a little bit of history to that. When we get that restored, that will be absolutely incredible, and everybody will be able to sit up there. Okay, so this is what the Melba Theater looked like when we first purchased it. The blue chairs and everything. Which actually, looking at this picture, it doesn't look that bad, but you can kind of see some of the scuff marks on the backs of the seat. If you look to the right on the blue curtain, you can tell where the water is coming in. Straight down the middle, there's the chicken house heater, which is fortunately no longer there. And also in this picture to the left, if you look real closely at that clock, it says Thompson's Jewelry Store. And Thompson's Jewelry Store will, I think in 4 more years, they're located on Main Street, but in 4 more years, they'll be celebrating their 100th year in business. So pretty incredible. But the owner of Thompson's Jewelry told us that I guess there was a traveling salesman that used to go around and he would sell those clocks, but then you'd have to pay monthly for your clock, and it lights up, it's neon and all that. But so then the company went out of business and no one else had to pay for the clock. So anyways, we've inherited it, but we have moved it up to the front, and it's kind of a focal piece of our lobby area. So anyways, moving on, I'm going to get back to a prettier picture. There we go. Other interested parties had looked at buying the theater, but the owner had a deep passion for seeing the theater continue as a movie theater. So other parties wanted to use it for live productions. One even looked at it for storage. and some of the research that I've done, I know other towns, they just don't know what to do with the old venues that used to be movie theaters, and some people, they use them for parking garages. So it's kind of sad. But one thing that I believe is important to remember is that our community was never divided regarding the restoration of the Melba. And so when we purchased the theater in March of 2015, the dilapidation included much more than just busted seats and peeling paint. As I alluded to in this picture, the building was suffering from major water damage. Locals had even coined the phrase the Smelba because when you would walk in the front door, you could smell the mold upon entering the building. The blue curtains along the walls were heavily discolored from years of water neglect. And when we went to look at the building for the first time after visiting with the previous owner, Janelle, she's one of our business partners. She has straight hair, straight short blonde hair. And when she entered the building, it was straight. And by the time that we left, it was curly due to the moisture that was in the space. Also, a little funny story. During that same visit, I was walking by an electrical outlet that did not have a cover on it. And I noticed it because it had a mouse that was part skeleton. And so I looked at Terry, that was the former owner's name, and I said, "Uh-oh, you've got a mouse in that socket." And he said, "Oh, no, don't touch it, because I figured if it could get electrocuted, so could I." So anyways, but yeah, now it's no longer there. If you ever come to the Melba and you see our commercial that comes on before, kind of like our history and our progress updates, you'll see a picture of that mouse in the electrical socket, because I thought that was just hilarious. But I don't mean that anything bad necessarily on the previous owner, because he did the best that he could do with the resources that he had. We're very appreciative for the work that he put into the theater, because he kept it operating and he kept the bones of the structure sound. I mean, there weren't walls that were falling in, there weren't trees growing up the middle. And so we're grateful that he, with the little resources that he had, was still able to keep the theater operating. So the building needed all new electric and HVAC and other technical things that an engineer could work at. And we did use John Greer with WER Architects. I'm sure a lot of you guys know John. He was incredibly easy to work with, and he was very knowledgeable about historic structures. We had a full walkthrough and assessment completed by John. And when we met with him, he explained his findings and gave us kind of our next steps. When we talked with him about budget and how much it would cost, he said that it would cost over $1 million. And so with us not being investors in other properties and having no hands-on experience in theater actual ownership, this was incredibly discouraging to us. And so much so that you could say we almost pulled the plug, because all of us co-owners were fairly young. I say we didn't have theater experience, but my husband, his personal connection with it was actually his first job when he was in high school. And so he, I guess, always dreamed of having a theater, but we're not rich by any means. And so when you throw out something that's over $1 million project, you're almost like, I'm out. So anyways, because of the discouragement, we didn't meet for a couple of months. And then a banker in town by the name of Phil Baldwin, he's with Citizens Bank, he reached out to us and kind of wanted an update on where we were with theater project. Because you guys know how things go. You talk about wanting to restore a theater or not theater. Well, yeah, theater, but any building, any kind of project, word travels like wildfire. So anyways, I think all of Batesville knew that we were looking at it, and I know that Phil did. So anyways, he reached out to us and he was like, where are you guys on the theater project? And we kind of told him what we were dealing with, and we conveyed our doubts. But Phil's a visionary, and he knows how to encourage people. And he mentioned that we might be able to talk with Arkansas Capital and work out a plan. So anyways, we went and we met with Arkansas Capital. I believe the guy's name was Sam. I believe I can double check on that. He was super nice. But anyways, he asked how much money we were needing, and we said, well, the project is estimated at $1 million. And he said, well, we're interested in more larger projects, so we need you to ask for more money. Some of the things that he threw out was, well, maybe you could buy the whole block, or you could install a parking garage. So you can imagine us four, I guess small town people from Batesville, we kind of had the deer in the headlights look like, what? So anyways, I mean, in our minds, we think, well, that'd be awesome if we had a parking garage. It'd be awesome if we owned the whole block, but that's just not us. That's not us. We're not that's not where we are right now. So anyways, when we left that meeting, we were still bummed. It's kind of like we've been hit once, now we've been hit again. So we stopped at a place, David's Burgers. You guys all know David's Burgers. And we were talking about all of the reasons how the Melba being restored could impact our Main Street and our entire community. And the reasons included something for families to do, obviously preserving the history of the Melba. Then my husband, Adam, he asked the question, what happens if we don't? What if we don't buy the Melba? What does that look like? And so him asking that question made us realize the building would probably remain closed. It would probably be condemned, and it would do nothing to bring people to our downtown district. And Terry, he was the previous owner. And like I said, with Adam working at the theater, I guess they had a mutual respect for one another. And so Terry, the previous owner, he was just burned out. He had some things happening in his personal life, and he kind of just wanted out. He wanted to be done. And so he actually approached Adam and gave him the possibility of buying the theater. So that's kind of how that came about. Because like I said, Terry really, really wanted the next owners to keep it as a movie theater because that was his passion. So anyways, a future without the Melba was not something that we wanted to envision. And think of time frame. This was right in the middle of the revitalization. It was when the streetscape was being put into place on Main Street. And so you had asphalt being pushed to the side, and businesses were having to close. So it was almost like you needed that one big project to stick its neck out and say, we're willing to put ourselves on the line because we believe in the revitalization of our Main Street. So moving forward, we made a plan with the direction of John Greer. We became our own contractors and most of the time our own workers. We purchased the building in 2015, and then we started renovations. This is a photo of the four of us. You can see the condition of the marquee. The neon was not operating. Behind us, the ticket booth was even towards the left of the front, which is not in the original location. So keep that in mind for when I show you the future pictures. So anyway, something else, we also have, each of the four of us, we have full-time day jobs. So when we would get off work, we would go to the Melba and work some more. We even had a safe, clean area so that our kids could play, but then they could be there with us. We knew that we were in it for the long haul, and so we needed to allow our kids to be there instead of pushing them to grandma and then, dealing with the guilt of that later. So we did not do this alone. We understood that the theater played a huge role in our town's history, and so many people have shared memories of the Melba. Lyon College sent multiple sports teams and Greek organizations over to help tear out ceilings, remove seats, paint, and you name it. This was one of the ads that we put out for a Melba workday. Our supporting roles and our cast and volunteers needed and all of that. And then to the left, that man's name is actually Gary. He refused to let us pay him anything, but he worked so much as far as painting and just anything. He would show up, and just because the Melba was important to him. And that's something that definitely sets a historic structure apart from a newly built one, is that people have that emotional connection and they're willing to help out. So we had so many individuals and we had people who were willing to help because they knew they were being a part of something big. Everyone who helped had a personal connection to the theater. We had people who said they attended our shows, people who saw their first movie at the Melba, and so on. And to me, the biggest job that stands out is the removal of the seats. And it happened on a hot, blistery, 100-degree Saturday in August. I'm going to go forward just a little bit and see if, yeah. So if you look to the left, you can see that, we'll say the back sweat was strong. We did have fans going on in certain areas, and cool water for our volunteers, and no one ever complained. Because like I said, they were there because the Melba meant something to them. So that once we got the seats ripped out, we took them to Eagle Sandblasting in Pleasant Plains. They sandblasted them. From there, they were transported to Intimidator in Batesville, and they powder coated all of the metal. Goodness. The seat cushions were restored by Babs Upholstery, which at the time was a reupholstery shop located on our main street. The material was purchased from Marshall Dry Goods, which is also located on our main street. And the material was sold to us at cost. So all in all, our cost in the seats was right at $75, roughly $30,000 total. And if we had not done it ourselves, it was going to be over $100,000. So we saved money, and then we were still using the original seats, which made it that much more special. And in this picture that's on the screen here, this was actually taken on the day that we announced to the community what our plans were. And instead of having a ribbon cutting, we had a film cutting. And so we had representatives from Main Street, Arkansas. Joel Williams, he's on the far right. At the time, he was our Main Street director. And then Joe, one of our co-owners, right there in the middle. Mark Miller, if you're on this call, I'm gonna laugh at your goatee. Anyways, you can give me a hard time about that later. Anyways, funny picture. This is a little bit of the demolition that happened within our lobby area. There were drop ceilings throughout the entrance, and we removed those and revealed actually a pretty intact tray ceiling. And so this is members from Lyon College baseball team, I believe, that were trying to help us tear some of that out. More pictures. This is Beth Christian to the right. This may have been her very first Main Street hands-on project, which all she did, she was helping us tear out some of the tile in the bathroom. But now she owns, let's see, 2, 3 other properties downtown. She's a really, really hard worker. And so I think you guys will see some great things from her this year and next year when she gets her properties renovated and opened up. This kind of puts a little bit of the painting job in perspective. We did hire that out because those were really tall ladders. But anyways, we repainted everything, removed the curtains, kind of white boxed things, and then put our special touches on it. I was talking about the seats earlier and how they were the original seats and we had them totally restored. To the left, this is when they were actually at the sandblasting company. On the right, this is when we were loading the seats up to go to Babs Upholstery. That's actually Janelle's father, Steve Summers. That's one thing that was so special about the Melba project. It was a family ordeal and everybody was hands-on. This was when we took we're taking the seats to the sandblasting company. And as Joe calls it on the right, he was doing the tush test. We actually had to test out different types of foam to see which, I guess, felt the best on our bums. This was the first prototype we ever received for the new seats. That's Aaron Babb to the left. He actually owned Babs Upholstery. And this was the very first time that we ever saw what the seats could look like. Here in this picture, he's actually holding up what a pleather seat would have looked like over what our seats actually are right now with the cloth. That's a neat photo. Okay, so in this picture, this was whenever we basically gutted out the front. Remember I said the ticket box had been moved, and I'm not exactly sure, but it had been moved from the center to the left. And so in an effort to keep up with the historical accuracy of the building, we moved the ticket box back to the center. That was quite the job. We totally repainted the exterior. We enlisted some of, we tried to gain some interest within the schools, and we had a coloring contest. You could win prizes and such, and the schools let us print out, I think, like 1,000 coloring sheets, and they all went inside of the backpacks. But at the time, we also had a Kickstarter going to help fund our marquee update. And so we had to link to the Kickstarter on the coloring sheet to kind of tell the parents, hey, go check us out and give us some funds. More pictures just from the renovation. That's my husband to the left in the baseball cap whenever they're trying to tear out some of the ductwork in the lobby. To the right, that man's name is Chris Walls. He was the man that helped us restore the hardwood that's in the auditorium. He actually instructed us on how to sand with his machine. And we went through, I think we'd said 7 layers of paint. And I can't remember how many different, I don't know the little things are called, but the grit things that you attach to it. I mean, it was an incredible job. A lot of late hours were put into that, but that man right there saved us a ton of work by instructing us on how to do it. This was some of the first pictures that were taken after the new paint job and after the ticket box was moved from the left back to the center. Like I said, we have kids. We have kids. Joe and Janelle have kids. So when they were there, we tried to include them just as much as we could, and they loved it. But then it created lasting memories for them, and especially for us. More painting on the outside. One other thing that I want to mention, the neon on the building, like I said, was not working at all. And so we reached out to Jeff Couples with Couples Sign in Paragould, and he got to work. He gave us a bid, and it was out of our budget. That he told us from the beginning that he would work with us because he knew the importance of this project to Batesville, and he just wanted to be a part of it. So we told him kind of where we need to be budget wise, and he made a proposal. He had a guy that created the glass tubing for the neon, and he instructed Adam and Joe on how to actually connect the tubing to the marquee. And so our original quote for a restored neon marquee was going to be $50,000, but through Jeff, we did it for about $15,000. Incredible savings there. Another issue that has caused a lot of single screen historic movie theaters to go out of business is the need to have a digital projector. Digital projectors are about $50,000 plus, depending on if you get 3D or not. But all the newer movies require a digital processor. So we did upgrade from 35 millimeter film to a digital projector. And we also upgraded to 7.1 surround sound and installed all new clip speakers. So sometimes when we show action movies, or really, I guess, any movie with any kind of excitement, it feels like the ground is literally shaking underneath you. It's awesome. So anyways, one of the big questions I'm sure all of you have is, can you show me the money? So all of our renovations plus the purchase of the building came in at around right at $600,000, which is almost half of what was originally estimated. We were able to obtain the low interest rate through Citizens Bank through our with our loan, and they helped us secure a federal home loan grant. We received a mini grant from Main Street for our sidewalk, because there were some sidewalk updates that were needed whenever we moved the ticket booth back to the center. And then we got another grant from Citizens Bank through the Impact Grant Program. Impact is kind of our community-wide strategic plan. And so Citizens Bank put some grant money into a pool if you were working on projects that were focused deliberately in something that was reflected in the impact plan. So our grant money in total was around $50,000. Another source of income that we had was we sold seat plaques. We sold seat plaques for $50 to help offset the cost of refurbishment. And to date, almost every single seat in the theater has been sponsored. So we held our grand opening ceremony on August 15th, 2016. And we featured the classic movie, The Wizard of Oz. It was a black tie affair, and everybody was so excited to see the treasure of the Melba brought back to life. The renovation process took us about a year and a half to complete. It was obviously, it obviously could have been done a lot sooner, but we were wanting to save as much money as we could by doing the majority of the work ourselves. But when we turned on the neon on August 15th, 2016, all of our hard work was immediately justified, and we knew that we had made the right decision. In this picture right here on the screen, it's actually pre-COVID. It's actually one of our very first Christmas movies that we ever showed after we opened, and the line stretched down the entire block. So I think my husband, he's a crier sometimes. I think he actually cried because he was so excited. But anyways, so as far as the layout of our business plan, we do run the theater. The four of us owners each have different roles in managing the business. Adam, he's the financial guy. Joe's the repair and maintenance guy. Janelle handles concessions and our employees. And I do our marketing and our group bookings. We're typically open Thursday through Sunday, but COVID hours are Thursday through Saturday. And like I said, we host a very Melba Christmas, and this is where we show 12 Christmas classics for free. We partner with area businesses to cover the copyright cost, and those businesses get on-screen ads and reserved seating. In a typical year, almost every single one of those movies has a line that goes down the sidewalk when the doors open. And so it's become a tradition for families in our area, along with seeing the light display along the White River. A few other things that we do, this is Cousin Eddie, just a local guy. Well, obviously Cousin Eddie, his real name is Brad Cheatham. He, the very first year, he got excited when we announced the Christmas movies. He was like, "Oh, Christmas Vacation is one of my favorite movies." He's like, "I've got an RV that's tucked back in the woods. It'll take some work to get it out, but if you guys want to use it, I'll bring it." So anyways, he brought this trashy RV, Cousin Eddie's RV, and he every year has come dressed up in his white robe and his socks, and then he has his cigar and his fake beer can out there. So anyways, it's really neat. People have got a picture with him on their Christmas cards, and he's absolutely wonderful. We weren't able to use him this year because of the obvious, but I bet he'll be back in action Christmas 2021, hopefully, fingers crossed. Other things that we do, we host kids summer series where families can come and enjoy movie, drinks, and popcorn for $4. We're fortunate to have a large stage, so we've hosted occasional live events. We've hosted Q&A with Judge Reinhold. We've had country music acts, local artist spotlights, and more. And since we love movies, we have creative ways to make the experience more memorable, whether it's dressing in costume. I know Adam, he dresses as Marv with from Home Alone, Marv from Home Alone, with the imprint of the iron on his face. He does all of that. We have the bunny suit when we show Christmas Story. When we show Pirates of the Caribbean, we all dress up as pirates. So anyways, we also passed out small giveaways. We did movie trivia, but we tried to make each customer interaction pleasant. Excuse me. Because one thing is with this project, as Joe has said, it wasn't a get rich quick, and it wasn't a get rich quick at all scheme. We just do it because we love our community, and we can see the outcome of this theater and the positivity that it brings in the wellness of our community. And so we're proud of it, but we love movies too. So we have some fun, and we try to theme things around various different movies. Another thing it's important to note is during the pandemic, we've also made sure to address each crowd and remind them of the extra precautions that we are taking to keep them safe. We did receive a grant from the Hartford grant, and we've completely updated our HVAC so that the air within the theater is actually purified. So it makes it a lot safer to be inside. And so we let our customers know about that. We want, when they come into our theater, it's kind of like their safety is in our hands. And so we want them to know that we're doing everything that we can. Also, rewinding just a little bit, we viewed the renovation of the Melba as a way to create a spark that might ignite a downtown renaissance. And this proved to us to be true because even on the day of our new ownership announcement, during the event, we had a local businessman that approached us and told us about his plans to open a restaurant just a couple of doors up, because he knew that there would be continuous foot traffic to the Melba in the evening. And then later, another friend said that we'd helped encourage them to build in a vacant lot next to the Melba block. So it's kind of been like a wildfire. Other businesses have since opened, and several of them are eager to partner with us on promotions and events. Things such as if you show your Melba ticket at a downtown restaurant, you get a discount. Valentine's Day is upon us. If it doesn't snow us or ice us all in, then we've got a promotion going to where you can eat, and then we have an axe throwing place, so you can eat, you can go throw axes, and then you can watch a movie at the Melba, and then you can go stay the night at the Royal on Main. So we all kind of work together to create an experience rather than just come do this one thing and then leave our main street. We keep it going so that more money is brought downtown. So our goal with the Melba was to bring life to a sleepy downtown, and we've succeeded with this goal thanks to community support and leadership. But the way we see it, we're just caretakers of a bit of history, and we hope that generations after us pick up and continue the spark on our local economy. But the key to success lies in, right there. Of course. we'll leave it on this one because I absolutely love this picture. Kirk Jordan took this, and he did a phenomenal job with Arkansas tourism. But anyways, the key to success lies in finding the right champion. You have to be a cheerleader, and you have to be a motivating force, and you have to get people behind you. You can't do it by yourself, but people are connected to historic buildings. So the right people are there, and you just have to find them and encourage them. And Rachel, that's all that I have. And we'll see if there's any questions.
Okay. Let me put you, if you'll stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
I'll make you bigger on the screen.
There we go. All right.
There we go. Okay, I don't see any questions yet. I do see a comment from Mary Silva, that's my mom. See the love and pride you have in your community and their support in return. Thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Kim Williams, wow, great job, Mandy. Patricia Blick, love that Batesville is so energized in the story of rehab of the Melba. How are things going with vacancy with COVID?
Fortunately, we've had one business that has had to shut its doors directly because of COVID. But it's just one. In our downtown, we have 54 active businesses. And so to have one is, I think, pretty outstanding. I mean, I'm not going to lie. We do have several that have told me, if this stretches on for the rest of the year, we may not be here 2022. But for now, we just have one that's had to close its doors.
That's pretty good, I would say. And Patricia agreed. That's pretty good. Congratulations. You got lots of great jobs. Let's see. Another question. Oh, would you be able to share the mural professor's contact information?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I know that I actually talked with him a few weeks back, and they're looking for more jobs. So I'll share that.
They'll go anywhere in the state?
Yes. Yeah. I know that he said that they've done other communities, but I can't right now think off the top of my mind. I know they've done Cave City, and then they've done another one a little bit further off, but they just need the contact. So I'll get that to you or whoever, we can get that pushed out, and they'd be excited to help out, and they do a wonderful job.
That's great. Very exciting. Thank you. And that was Jessica Gunn.
Oh, Jessica.
Yeah. But if you share it with me, then I'm happy. If anybody else wants it, I'm happy to share as well.
Okay.
Let's see. From Leslie Scribner, for someone just starting out with an old rundown historic building, what is your best piece of advice?
The best piece of advice? I mean, if you yourself if you're the owner, I mean, you have to have that personal connection, or the passion won't be there. Because, if we were just investors, I don't know if we would have kept pushing. But like I said, it was Adam's first job, and our kids saw their first movie there. So many different experiences intertwined with the Melba. And so it helped, I guess, push our hard work. So you have to have a personal connection, or I don't know, that'd be tough.
That would be tough. It takes dedication. Okay. From the Collins Theater in Paragould, the struggle has been tough this year. We at the Collins feel your pain and hope for better days ahead in 2021. We're also looking at expanding into showing movies as well. You are one of the theaters that always comes up in discussion for our foundation.
Good. Yeah, one thing that's been fortunate for us is, even though our capacity right now is limited to 130 as opposed to 415, we are still able to show movies. And so if we would have just been solely a live production, then I don't know what that would have looked like. So I understand we've gone to events at the Collins Theater, and then we have a lot of similarities. And so if the Collins Theater could show movies, I mean, that's a constant source of revenue, and it's easily doable too. So just gotta get past the copyright fees.
Right. Kim Williams asks, can you share some of the grants that you were able to use to take advantage of during the restoration? And I wanted to ask, did you use historic tax credit?
Yes. Yeah. Whenever I was doing my quick run through, I'm like, I know there's going to be something. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because yes, historic tax credits, as you know, you can sell those after, a certain time period. And so we actually sold a few of those in 2020, and we were able to put that income back into our operating account. And so I'm not going to say that federal tax credits is what is keeping us in business, but it's pretty close. So yeah, federal tax credits that was one of the deciding factors in us moving forward with the project.
Great, thank you. From Hannah with Main Street, Arkansas. Now that you've gone through this experience as a historic building owner, how do you think state resources and networks across the state can better or further assist huge rehabilitation projects like the Melba?
Maybe if it's hard to say, because we felt like, as far as state Main Street, Arkansas, and even you guys, you were pretty hands-on as far as like we had questions, you would answer them very quickly. But maybe if I don't know if this would start with the lenders or not, but if there was some kind of like a quick start package, and maybe maybe I need to do that as Main Street director. But if kind of like you bought this historic building, now what? Like you need to contact your HDC, you need to reach out to Main Street, Arkansas, do all these things and make sure that you're in order. Because I know that we had started doing some demolition on the inside of the theater, and then I think maybe Stacy Hurst or somebody stopped by, and they were like, oh, maybe you need to wait before you do some more stuff so that we can look and make sure you're doing it right. And ultimately we weren't doing anything, that was making it historically inaccurate, but we didn't know that beforehand. So maybe just some better coordination between maybe the Main Street communities or the lenders, since a historic building does, I guess if you're in a historic district, it comes with its, I want to say limitations, but it's positive limitations, as opposed to you just building a new building in the middle of the town. So having upfront knowledge would probably be beneficial.
So yeah, more outreach, that would be good. Brian Robertson says, great job. So glad you all were able to save the Melba. I have memories of going there while growing up in Batesville.
Oh, good. Thanks, Brian.
And then I've got a couple over here in the Q&A from Cheryl Batts, who is our speaker next month. Congratulations, so impressed that the town rallied around you. This was a great undertaking, and I'm excited about all of the different ways you were able to get folks involved.
Good. Thanks, Cheryl. And I'm excited to listen to you next month, you said, Rachel?
Yep.
Okay.
March, yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mandy. And if any other questions come in, or if y'all have any other questions, then feel free to send those directly to Mandy at Main Street Batesville or to me at Preserve Arkansas. We'll get answers for you. And now I'm going to just have a few more quick announcements at the end, and we will be done. Aha, there she is. This is Cheryl Batts. She will be our speaker on March 16th for the next Women in Preservation talk. And Cheryl is a longtime historic preservationist from Hot Springs, and also the CEO and founder of Phoebe, People Helping Others Excel by Example. And Preserve Arkansas is also taking nominations for our Most Endangered Places list. So if you know of a historic property that is endangered, please nominate it before March the 8th. Details and nomination forms are on our website at preservearkansas.org. And finally, if you would like to learn more about Preserve Arkansas and become a member, please visit our website and follow us on social media. Thank you all for viewing. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.